I would say my career has been all over. Like I started in Europe, then I went to Japan, then here in US. I would say probably how hard it is sometimes. Like now everybody sees that it's been awesome and this season and the past 2 or 3 seasons, but as a driver, as an athlete, you go through many more tougher times than good times. So I think a lot of people just see how we celebrate and how
emotional it is.
Yes, how good times we have, but I would say we have a lot of tough times. So that's why we get super emotional and we celebrate so much. We lose our voices, and it's only because of one day, one win.
Hey everybody, I'm Lindsay Czarniak, and this is Things No One Tells You. This is a podcast about the behind the scenes moments that shape who we are, those things that also are really relatable and really connect us. So each week I'm going to talk with newsmakers, trailblazers in the worlds of sports, entertainment, all things, but also everyday folks, people who are talking about the real stuff that no one tends to share. Follow me at Lindsay Czarniak and be sure to subscribe, rate, and review Things No One Tells You wherever you like to listen. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Things No One Tells You, or T-Naughty as we have affectionately named it, because who doesn't love to have a good acronym, right? I am so excited for this episode. I'm wearing my hat from the Indy 500 because in this episode, I am chatting with the winner of the Indy 500, Álex Palou, but I have a lot to share before we get to my conversation with Álex. What I love so much, though, was that we literally sat down the morning after he won the Indy 500, and it is such a life-changing thing. I'm going to get more into that in a minute. But this episode really made me think when I was going through it before, a lot about family, a lot about family support. You'll know why when you hear what Álex has to say, but I wanted to share a story of my own because the Indy 500 is truly one of my favorite sporting events, and it's because of the racing is so fast. You guys, it is so fast, upwards of 220 miles an hour. So there's this element of risk to it. There is so much dedication and mental toughness that goes into this race, and the way that the teams have to work together, it really just highlights how important every piece of a team is. So anyway, I could go on and on and on, but this event, the Indy 500, really means something special to me because it symbolizes something significant to me that I did not expect. And it's probably something that maybe would surprise you because this really is about something that happened that surprised myself. And here's what it is. So when I was at ESPN hosting Sports Center, at one point a few years in, I was called into an office and they were like, we would love for you to be the host of our Indy 500 coverage. I was the first woman ever to do that. And so they brought that to the forefront, and it was a huge honor and it was awesome. And I had been around racing a lot because if you don't know this, I started in sports covering motorsports, really. And but IndyCar is something I had not covered a lot of. So I had done more NASCAR, stock cars, that type of thing, not open wheel racing. And immediately researching, being around it before our big, debut at the actual Indy 500, I was just so blown away by like all these things, the speed, the this, the that, the level of intensity that this one race has. So it's kind of weird because, in football, your season culminates with the Super Bowl. In IndyCar, in the middle of your series, the season, you have this race, and I would even venture to say, frankly, it's like more than the Super Bowl because it is equivalent. It's like this one race, if a driver and their team wins the Indy 500, their life is literally changed forever. And it's such a hard thing to describe why, but I really think it's because you're now in the upper echelons forever of racing greatness. And it's because of how hard the race is. It's because of, like I've said, how fast it is. It's just because of how difficult it is to pull off. And I would say the stature is global, which is really cool. Anyway, back to me. So I was so excited to host the Indy 500. I did that for a couple of years before I got pregnant with my first child. And it was ironic because I went on maternity leave. My son was born in March, and I decided that I was taking my company's 12 weeks of maternity leave. And to be honest, I've always been a driven worker, and I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm going to want to go back after 4 weeks. Like, really, 12? Is that going to be crazy? And the second I had my son, I'm not crying. You're crying. I was just like, oh my God, this little thing. Like, it was just this instant crazy wave of, I just want to be with you right now. And like, so anyway, my point with that is I went from being like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about being home, to just knowing that I wanted to squeeze out every moment of that time that I had. I was very excited at some point of going back to work, but I was like, this is so amazing. And I love learning this new thing called motherhood, et cetera, et cetera. So I get a call because I was going back in 12 weeks, but it turned out that as it lines up, 10 weeks from when I went out on maternity leave was the weekend of the Indy 500. And so my bosses at ESPN were like, we would love to have you, resume your typical role there, host our coverage, but then you can go back out on maternity leave for the next, 2 weeks if you want. And it'll just be like you're coming back. So here's what I knew I wanted to do it. I was like, yes. And because I love that event so much, it really lights me up. I get so energized being at these live events, but especially there's just something about racing and hearing these race cars go around the track and feeling it and smelling it, the whole thing, and the storylines, and the drivers and their teams and families are awesome. But I started to get really nervous before I went back, because I was just like, oh my gosh, how do people do this? Like, I'm choosing not to drive up the road to ESPN as my return, but rather to hop on a flight and just cold turkey be gone for 5 days, because it's a lengthy thing. You get in on Wednesday and the race is Sunday, and then da 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 da. So this is the longest story ever, but there's a point. So I decided to do it, and I was like, okay, I need to figure out like how people have done this before. So I call my friend Jamie Little, who is one of like the most talented people in racing. She's a pit reporter and a host and a play-by-play expert, and she was like, she kind of walked me through some stuff about how she had done it returning to work. And I just remember it was like, I left the house to go to the airport, and I was like super, sad. It was kind of like the first day of kindergarten thing. But it was like once I was in the airport, and once I was landing and going through the Indianapolis airport and getting there, it was so electrifying. And when I got to the racetrack, there were all these new normals I had to navigate, like pumping in a trailer and like random stuff like that. But the thing that experience going to the Indy 500 as my first event back from maternity leave taught me was what I really love to do. I was like, thank God that I am lucky enough to have an opportunity like this to show me that getting there might feel difficult, but once I'm there, I am so excited and I'm loving every second of this. And sure, I'm missing my son and my family back home, but I'm like, this is where I want to be. It's where I need to be. And I do think it made it a lot easier. I think it would have been harder for me maybe to be going back to the day to day, coming home at night, but then just leaving. I don't know if any of that makes sense. Anyway, the Indy 500 always has a very special place for me because of that also. And it really taught me and symbolized resilience, but also just a recognition within myself of like, what are the things that I would really move mountains to do? And it's to be able to cover these live sporting events where you're telling these stories and you're getting a front row seat and access to see how people's lives are changed. So also, this last one, when I was covering the Indy 500 this past May, I was like, oh, it's so ironic that now I'm scared to go home after this. And I was scared to go home because my little guy is graduating elementary school. And I was like, this is such a milestone. And this place brings me all the feels. And there's so much family and tradition around the Indy 500. People come up to you and they're like, we haven't missed a race since the 70s. And they're serious. And that's wild. But thinking about coming home and then getting ready for the gear up to my son's elementary school graduation, made me get a little teary on a couple occasions, but we're all excited. And now it's time for some levity. So, you know that I like to do a joke of the day, and this is an oldie but goodie. And because tissues go well with an emotional conversation, how do you make a tissue dance? You put a little boogie in it. This is one of my favorites. My daughter used to think it's inappropriate, but I love it. Anyway, okay. This week's guest, Álex Palou, is an IndyCar driver. He is already a 3-time IndyCar champion. He came into this season going gangbusters bananas. He won 5 of the first 6 races in IndyCar, won the Indy 500. The thing about Álex is he had never won the Indy 500, so that was what he kept saying was like the bucket list, probably more for him than winning a championship. But what was so cool was to watch it unfold, to see how Álex was like setting himself up to success in the days and weeks leading up to the 500 was one thing. But then watching his team execute, and you guys might not know this, but the most common word or phrase in all of sports is you don't get too high, you don't get too low. I mean, if I could tell you the amount of football players that have said that during interviews, like I would be a rich woman if I had a penny for every time. It is just one of those common themes that's like you keep it even keel, and that is one of the keys to success. So Álex, though, is right in that camp, sharing that that was one of the keys to his success. And at Indy, it's so hard to do because there are so many obligations they have. There's just so much that can go wrong mechanically. There are so many different elements to it. But I loved how Álex really talked about his team needing to come together. And one of the things that I thought was most eye-opening was watching the other drivers the night after this huge race congratulate Álex at their banquet. But all of them looked right at his face because he was sitting in the front row and they were like, Álex, man, we don't know how you're doing it. Like he has struck gold in terms of understanding how to navigate and win. And I think it's like everyone wants a piece of what he has, but he's sort of doing it. He's saying just by being so level-headed, such a cool customer. He's also a dad. He's married. He's a great teammate. He really puts the team first. So anyway, I love this conversation with Álex. This is the morning after he won the Indy 500. He hadn't even let it fully sunk in yet. I'm sure it still hasn't, just how much his life will change and how now he will always be known as Indy 500 champion Álex Palou. I hope you love this conversation as much as I loved having it. All right, so Álex, have you slept?
A little bit, not much, but
Okay,
I got like 4 or 5 hours, yes.
Love it. I was watching, one of my favorite things to do is, because everybody talks about how the Indy 500 is such a life-changing moment if you win it. And I love that concept so much, but I always find that something that like makes me get goosebumps is watching the winner right after they've won the race. And when I was watching you get on top of your car, and throw your hands in the air, and then you ran down the racetrack. But I was like, I just instantly want to know, like, what were you feeling in that moment?
It was one of the best moments of my entire life. Like the feeling I had, that moment, the happiness. Like I crossed the start finish line and I was screaming all those like 2.5 miles and saying hello to the fans. But then when I stopped the car, and I heard the fans for the first time was just awesome. And then I saw my team running towards me.
That's the moment that made me cry. I'm like, what's my problem, right?
It was just so fun. It was amazing. I mean, it means so much. Like, I think that's why this race is so important. It's the fans, it's the traditions, but it's what it means for the people that work on those cars, that spend so many hours, and that my mechanics, my engineers spend so much time on. So it was just happiness.
Yeah, because like the team component, because I know everyone sees the face of the driver, but you have said yourself just how big a deal it is. So many people that make what you do easier. So when you were in that moment, getting off the car and running towards your team, what was going through your mind? Like, what does that feel like?
I thought I was like a lot closer to them. That's why I started running.
You ran really far.
Yeah, I ran really far. But in my mind, it's honestly, I just wanted to scream and be with them. Like I was just wanting to celebrate. Obviously, there's that relief feeling of like, we did it. Like you never know if you're gonna win the 500 or not. We've been close. I didn't have many attempts yet. Like this was my 6th attempt, but still, like you only get one chance a year.
And you had never won on an oval, by the way, which makes it even more difficult.
Absolutely. It makes it like more pressure. Like you've never won on an oval, you've never won a 500, obviously. So yeah, I was just happy and I just wanted to celebrate with somebody. And all my team was running towards me.
It was such a cool reaction. For people that listen or are watching that have never followed IndyCar,
why is this race such a big deal? Like, why is this? I mean, you're a 3-time champion. You swept through the season starting. You've won 5 of the first 6. Like, what? But this, you always said it wasn't complete without this. Like, so why is one race such a big deal? I mean, people get the Super Bowl, they get all that. Why is the Indy 500 equal to that?
I don't think there's one thing. I think there's a mix of a lot of things that make this event so special. The first one is the fans, like having more than 350,000 people on the stands. It's huge, like the atmosphere, the energy, and you feel like you're in the center of the world. And then how difficult it is to win. Like it's a endurance race, 500 miles, 200 laps. Like everything needs to be perfect that day for you to win. Your team, your car, yourself, a little bit of luck here and there. So to have all that in one day just feels amazing.
When you were at the point, you had 14 laps to go during the race and you made the move on Marcus Ericsson. And I know you said that you felt like you thought it was too early. But like when you see an opportunity, what is that like for someone who will never drive a race car, to be in that moment?
So I was second at that moment behind Marcus, but we had some traffic cars in front of us. I knew that it was going to get tougher towards the end to get an opportunity. So I wanted to lead, and then I wanted to see if I could stay in the lead or if I had to fight a lot. I saw a gap. It was a small gap, but I went through it. I knew that Marcus was not going to be overly aggressive because it was still like 14 laps to go. So it was my last chance, in my opinion, because my tires were a little bit worse than Marcus's. So I knew that it was just going to get tougher from there.
I loved how you talked about on that practice lap around you could see or you realized how many fans were here from Spain.
Yeah.
What do you remember of that? And what are you even thinking about when you're running the practice lap before the big race?
So we're doing the parade laps before the 3 parade laps.
Sorry, I kept saying practice, parade laps, yes.
In that moment, you're saluting the fans, and you're watching the stands for the first time full. And I was surprised at how many Spanish flags there were.
Really?
Yeah, and it was like different spots. So it was not only one group. It was the first time that I've seen that. It just feels amazing to have more fans.
And they were all there after when you won. I mean, they had your face on big cardboard cutouts. There were so many fans. So what is something in your mind that no one tells you about what your journey has been like for you? Like, what have you realized along the way coming from Spain? I know you've lived in several other countries too, but what would you say it is?
It's tough to say, but I would say my career has been all over. Like I started in Europe, then I went to Japan, then here in US. I would say probably how hard it is sometimes. Like now everybody sees that it's been awesome and this season and the past 2 or 3 seasons. But as a driver, as an athlete, you go through many more tougher times than good times. So I think a lot of people just see how we celebrate and how
emotional it is.
Yes, how good times we have. But I would say we have a lot of tough times. So that's why we get super emotional and we celebrate so much. We lose our voices. And it's only because of one day, one win.
What is the toughest thing that you've overcome?
I would say probably when I was a kid, I would say it was tougher than nowadays. Since I've been professional, it's been tough at some times, but you're already living your dream. You're getting paid to drive fast cars and to race against your competition. But when I was a kid and we didn't really have money to go to do a full season and we had to go race by race, that was the toughest. And seeing my parents not being able to give me everything that I needed as a race car driver. As a kid, I had everything. But I mean, as a race car driver, I knew it was tough on them. But nowadays it's easy. Like even though if I've been on 1-year contracts, it's still a 1-year contract. Like it's super fun. So I would say, when I was a kid.
What made that the toughest thing, seeing your parents not being able to? Is it just knowing that they want to be able to give you that, or?
Yeah, like seeing, I don't know, my parents working all day just to for me to burn the money on tires and fuel, like you're literally burning.
Yeah.
And then my dad used to be my mechanic in go-karts. So seeing him like a normal job and then working as a mechanic. So yeah, looking back now, obviously, I realized that that was the toughest. When you're a kid, you realize a little bit, but probably not the full, you don't really
Yeah.
get the full picture.
So now, bringing it full circle, when you win this race, you had a lot of family that
Oh,
came
yeah.
over to be here. What was the most special moment being able to celebrate with them?
No, it was amazing. Like I was still at the track and I saw my dad, my mom, my sister, my wife, my daughter, but I also had like grandparents, uncles.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So just seeing them there
Yeah.
and them so happy and celebrating was awesome.
And your daughter kissing the ring being
Yeah.
there was such a highlight for people watching. What was your dad's reaction or your parents' reaction?
Oh, my dad was actually the second person that was running towards me. He was running quite fast, but yeah, like honestly, the reaction is just to scream and say, "Let's go!"
We
right?
did it, yeah.
Yeah, like there's no conversation. It's just like, "Let's go!" and just big hugs, obviously. And he was crying. I had some tears, but yeah, it's just how emotional it is.
And I know your wife, Esther, has been a big part of it for you too. When you think about maybe things that you would tell other kids out there that might be in your shoes, no matter what the circumstance is, if they have a dream, what would your advice be to them now that you've lived a big portion of it and you're basically winning everything you can?
Oh, it's a tough question. I would say just to keep on working. Like as a kid, I would see these drivers winning or having these amazing positions in racing teams, and I wanted to be there. And I thought it was impossible. But when you take it day by day and you try and do your best every day, you try and get all your chances that you have. You might not get lucky, but at least you gave everything that you had. And I think that's probably good enough. You need a little bit of luck here and there. I had all the luck that I needed to be here today. But I think without the luck, if I would have worked as I worked and didn't have an amazing outcome, I would still have been really proud of my journey.
What are 3 things no one knows about you?
About me, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that they don't know, but I think people don't realize how much I love this sport.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think they don't realize that?
They think I'm just a driver that doesn't enjoy as much as I do. Like there's a lot of people that, I don't know, you see it in fans, but then when they get to know you, they are like, oh my God, like you love this sport a lot. And I love spending time with my mechanics, my team, the fans as well. Like for me, it's a dream every day that I show up to a racetrack. So I think there's a lot of people that don't know how much I love this sport.
That's an interesting thing to say, though, that you think the fans didn't always know how devoted you were.
Yeah,
Right?
I think they're starting to learn. But yeah, I don't think that they used to know. And then I love reading. Probably they don't know that.
What types of things do you read? And do you have any
Probably
suggestions?
just biographies from people. Yeah.
That have achieved?
Yeah, some stuff, some good stuff. Just to learn what they went through.
The last one that you read, what?
Last one, I would say was Shoe Dog. Yeah, it was pretty cool to learn the story at the beginning of the company as well.
Okay.
What they went through. But yeah, I just read all stuff. And then last one, I don't know.
You don't have one?
I don't know.
I have one for you.
Yeah, go
I was
ahead.
actually told to ask you about your organizational skills
Okay.
and that you possibly clean your shoes with your toothbrush. Is that true?
Not with a toothbrush. but
Okay,
yes,
sorry.
I
My
clean
source,
them. Yes.
Alex from
Yes.
IndyCar, threw
Yes,
that out
that's
to me.
some stuff they don't know. I hate when my shoes are not clean.
Really?
Yeah, and I like organizing stuff.
Like clean freak type of organizing?
Yes, a
like
little bit.
Okay.
Don't go crazy, but yes.
Which I'm sure translates into things that only benefit you as a driver. Is that right, would you say?
I think so. I don't know. It works. At
Have
least it
you
works.
always been that way?
Probably not when I was a kid, but I would say that I used to see my dad taking care of everything that he had, and I just took it to an extreme now.
I love it. Last thing, you've said that winning the Indy 500 was the dream, obviously, and it's complete. But now it makes you want to go do another. Is there some common thread that you can sort of see now between great athletes that have achieved something that you think is the difference maker? You know,
It's tough, but I would say just the work and probably the attitude of not being super high whenever you have good moments and not being low whenever you have bad moments.
That's the most common. Like, do you know in the NFL that is the most common answer that you get when you're interviewing someone about a big high pressure thing is, oh, I don't get too high, don't get too low. It almost seems like there's a book that pro athletes have. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think we experience and we see on other drivers that probably get too excited and you're like, it's only one race. Or they suddenly give up just because they had a bad race and you're like, it's only one race, it's fine. But probably that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I loved sitting there at the track talking to Álex, and the family connection he made when he answered, what would strike him in terms of something no one tells you, I think was really just fitting and interesting. And, families give up so much in all sports, but I think racing is one where, to me, that's really highlighted because oftentimes you're just having to sacrifice so much, and that is absolutely financially, but it's also moving around, making the commitment to really lean into some talent that your child or your relative is showing. So I have also become really interested in just the concept of greatness and people that have made it in their respective fields, like how that happens, what happens, how they handle it. And so I went on the red carpet before the Indy 500. So that morning they always have a red carpet there, and they asked me to walk it. And here's a thing no one tells you about walking a red carpet. Like, there is, in my opinion, it's really hard to be graceful. It's kind of like walking in sand at the beach. Like, I'm always like, which hip, which hand? Is my smile weird? Anyway, but in Indianapolis at IMS, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that red carpet is always like one of the kindest because these folks come out to watch the race. They're diehard fans of their driver, but also they're people that come every year. So a lot of people will be like, oh, Lindsay, because they know me from my coverage of it. And that was really fun. But I had seen the lineup of people that were coming down the red carpet as well. And I was like, ooh, there's a great opportunity here if I can just pull a couple people aside. And so I love the band Creed. They were on one of the drivers' cars as a sponsor. And so they were there walking the red carpet. Scott Stapp is the lead singer of Creed. But so I pulled the band aside and I asked them, I wanted to know just their take on the fact of how can one event change someone's lives so drastically? And I wanted them to relay their perspective of how it happened for them in music. So I loved their response, but also additionally, Terry Crews, NFL star, turned actor, host of America's Got Talent. He was there and his response was so awesome, as was NASCAR driver Jimmy Johnson, who, has won more championships than anyone can count. But anyway, so I wanted to share this here because I was like, this is a really interesting perspective, I think, from different sports and different genres of entertainment to hear what people have to say about what it was like when they made it. So what is that like?
First of all, you gotta understand, I'm from the Midwest, and what I'm doing now was the equivalent of flying to Mars. And now I live on Mars. And the best example of I can give is that everything is possible. And for these guys to win this whole thing, the dream will come true. And I love this about what sports can do and what this race has done for so many people.
That just gives me chills. There are so many kids down there asking for you. Go, go, go. As you know, this is an event that changes the life of anyone that wins it. How do you guys equate that in the music business? Like, what have you experienced that you think that would be similar to?
Well, we think having the name Creed on the Indy car is very. I think we've made it.
Really?
We made it once we had our name on that car. So, yeah.
I mean, I know what it feels like. I mean, we all do. To go from, living in a college, apartment with 4 guys sharing rooms, sleeping on a mattress, to literally within 1 year selling 6-7 million records, having 4 number 1 hits, and your whole life changing overnight. I think others in other sports find it hard to believe that one event is bigger than the championship. But in motorsports, it is that way. You have Le Mans for sports cars. You have Daytona for NASCAR. You have the Indy 500 for Indy. This is everything. This is that moment. This is the life-changing moment. This will forever put you in the record books, and every driver on the field today knows it.
What did it feel like for you when you hit that championship the first time?
There's such pride, and what's wild is, as a competitor, I didn't let it all in, but going through the Hall of Fame induction and reflecting, it forced me to reflect. I'm now honoring and absorbing kind of what took place. I can't believe that all happened. So those major moments are the gifts that keep on giving.
Álex, wow. I think, first of all, winning the Indy 500, also the 3 championships, and it is obviously very feasible that he will be a 4-time champion before this year is out, which is crazy. I love how he was talking about like literally burning money. I think no one tells you sometimes is like just how much goes into these sports, right? And the blood, sweat, and tears of it. That's why it's so devastating when people show up at a racetrack on the weekend, and if something happens and it like ends their weekend before it starts, it's just so much blood, sweat, tears, and obviously like finances that go down the drain. But I just so appreciated Álex sharing, and talking about what it was like being in that position and the way that he framed just coming down the final few feet, whatever you call it, to victory, just how special that was for him. So thank you, Álex. Thank you, IndyCar, for making that happen. I can't wait to follow along the rest of this season. And I would love to say, be sure to tune in every Thursday to hear new episodes. If you're loving the show, please take a minute to subscribe, rate, also review Things No One Tells You. We can't wait to see you back here next week. Bye. Thanks so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you back here next week. Please don't forget, follow and subscribe to Things No One Tells You. And of course, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave a 5-star review, because that's really what helps people get more listeners. We would love to grow this community. We are so grateful that you're a part of it. See you next time.